result of that. And so there's a number of projects that are built on some of these principles. IBM has a project called Many Eyes, and it's definitely worth taking a look at. The first week of class, I brought up the popular names database, and I actually first learned about this data from Name Voyager, and Name Voyager is a really pretty visualization that allows you to sort of take a look at the top 1,000 popular boys and girls names over time. And it's a really neat kind of stacked view of all of the popular names for a given prefix. So I went ahead and chose my name as a prefix. And this is the graph that came out. So names starting with Jan very, very much peaked in the 40s. Not really sure why, but you can see that predominantly Jane, Janet, and Janice were the names that were very common. And it turns out that Jan, female, and Jan, male, are the two little stripes above Jane. But very insignificant for the total. But it turns out that all sorts of interesting things have been discovered just by using this particular visualization. It turns out that in the baby boom years, in the early baby boom years, late 40s, early 50s, people stopped using vowels in the first names of their children. Like every single vowel basically just became completely underrepresented compared to where it had been before. And they've all recovered since somewhat. It's hard to describe, a reason for something like that, but it's just a weird phenomenon. So, I don't know, names starting with consonants sort of beat out vowels starting in the late 40s. It's just one of these sort of things that people discovered by playing around with the data and the visualization. And it would have been very hard to see that just by looking at a database table or a query result or something like that. So I definitely want to encourage people to explore visualizations because there's great opportunities for discovering new things about your data that you might not be able to uncover otherwise. So, I'm tearing through this set of slides today. I thought I'd bring up a couple more APIs that would be of interest for projects potentially, or just to experiment with a little bit. So these are all small companies. One of them allows you to sort of graph any kind of trip that you take, walking, biking, or car trips. The Foursquare API allows you to sort of visualize different places that are being visited by people. So it's kind of interesting in the Bay Area, at least, to take a look at. And then if you're interested in Twitter and you've always wondered, why doesn't Twitter rank its data? And there's actually a company that does rank Twitter's tweets, and it's called Topsy. And the way they do that is by basically understanding how things get retweeted and the influence of a given of all of the Twitter accounts. And they use that basically to decide whether a tweet has more authority than another one. So they basically come up with a very cool ranking system that ranks tweets based on the person who tweeted. And you have an opportunity to sort of play around with that data by using their API. Cool. So I just wanted to list a couple of the URLs. The PDF is already up on the website. I think that I'd love to see people experimenting with some of the APIs that are from smaller companies. Doesn't have to be these, but I wanted to plant the seed just in case you were thinking that you should be limited to, say, the Google APIs. And in fact, there's a ton of stuff out there, and I definitely recommend that you do a little bit of research just to figure out where people are doing APIs that kind of match your interests. And then one of the things that I talked about earlier on in the class was that GUID doesn't really make it very easy to make your pages search engine accessible. And on Tuesday I said that it was a very good idea to make your websites as accessible to search engines as possible. Well, there actually is an answer for that, and that's the sitemaps format. So it's an XML format that you can use to describe basically a lot of the structure of your website if it's not flat HTML. So a good example of that would be an app that you build with GUID. And then GUID isn't really super